Good morning. It's about 2:50 in the morning. I've been awake for a while. Usually I'm awake praying for a while before I actually have to get up and take animals potty and stuff like that. And I have a cat yelling at me because she wants to eat. She's a foodie. That's Gigi. And she's my son's cat. We've been watching her for a number of years. We're keeping her. She's basically our cat now, but she'll always be my son's cat. And she's a foodie. She likes to eat. And so anyways, but I try not to feed her until around 4 o'clock in the morning, because she's ready to eat anytime. It doesn't matter what time that is. In fact, I have to watch food, guard the food around her, the dry food. I feed her wet food mostly because otherwise she'll throw up, but if she can get to the dry food, she will, and then she'll scarf on it really fast and throw it all up. It's a mess. So cats, cats are cats. They can be finicky, but they're a lot of fun and sweet. I love her. Anyways, so I'm making coffee and getting that ready for us. My husband's running the generator so that I can have heat and lights. My propane heater quit on me yesterday, so he has it over in the van trying to get it running, and he has another little propane heater that he uses, and so I'm not sure which one he's trying to get running, but they don't have a really good selection for propane heaters. The little buddies are not that reliable, and they just don't last. They just don't run well, and so the electric heat, if you can manage it, is the way to go, and the best way for us to do that is through our generator. Hopefully that maybe we can build up our solar, God willing, and get it to where we can run our electrical, like our heat and our refrigerator, off of solar. We'd have to get some batteries and just, beef it up actually, really. Because the batteries and stuff that we have now won't run heat. Not for any length of time. So, anyways, that's just one of the situations you have to work out when you live like we do. And I think it would be wise for us to beef up our solar. And I was just thinking, I was talking to my brother who was a pastor. I guess he's still a pastor, but he's kind of retired. The church retired him. He has Parkinson's, and so the church he was working for, retired him, and so his life has changed quite a bit. He doesn't have, I don't know if he's been able to get on Social Security yet or not. Because of his Parkinson's, he's disabled and having struggles. But anyways, we were talking about some of what I talked about on my videos, and I was asking him about John that wrote the book of Revelation. And he was not imprisoned. He was exiled to an island called Patmos. I knew he was on Patmos, but I thought he was in prison there. But I guess he was living in a cave on the island of Patmos, and that's when he had the revelation. And I would say that he still was living a life restricted, and that's kind of the theme of the video I had done when I mentioned him, was how different people who have been serving the Lord ended up in prison and writing letters in John, the book of Revelation, that have had a much further reaching impact had they not gone to prison and wrote this literature for us. So, so I wanted to clear that up, that John was on the island of Patmos, living in a cave. So, got the coffee done and dispersed. My husband has his coffee and I have my coffee, and it's really yummy. A little more Bible trivia. I mean, these are things a lot of people probably know, but I'm just learning. we read the scriptures, and I only a lot of times know a little bit about the people that wrote the scriptures, and I always just assumed they were people that walked with Jesus and whatever, but I've been in the book of Luke. Now, Luke didn't walk with Jesus. He came to Jesus through Paul, I believe, and he was a physician. And so he actually, I think, traveled with Paul and learned from Paul for a while. And but he wrote, the book of Luke was just marvelous. And when I first started the book of Luke, I had mentioned in one of my previous posts that he was the only one in the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, that gave the account of John the Baptist's birth with Zacharias and Elizabeth, his parents. And so that was interesting. Excuse me. So yesterday I was reading in Luke 15, and I got to the prodigal son, and I was like, was the prodigal son, was that story, in any of the other Gospels? And so I looked, and the story of the prodigal son was only in the book of Luke. And so I hadn't known that before, but the others, and Matthew had walked with Jesus. Mark, I don't think he had walked with Jesus. He was also with Paul, and then Luke was with Paul, and then of course John had walked with Jesus, to my knowledge. I believe there was I shouldn't even speak on it because I don't know, but it seemed like there was some controversy over who wrote the book of John, but I'm pretty sure it was John, and that he walked with Jesus. And of course, the John that wrote the book of, my puppy is so full of it right now. It's morning time, don't you know? He's got to play. But John, who wrote the book of Revelation, of course, he walked with Jesus. So it's been kind of interesting and fun learning about who wrote these books and who these people are, and did they actually walk with Jesus, as what was their association, and things like this. And now Luke was a doctor, but he was so knowledgeable about the words of Jesus, what Jesus said. Now see, Paul, he was during the time of Jesus. He was there when they stoned Stephen, and Stephen had walked with Jesus, I believe. And so anyways, he was with the apostles, and Luke also wrote the book of Acts. So Luke was there probably with Paul early on, because he was very knowledgeable about the early church and about the things that Jesus said, and the account that he wrote informed us of things that the other Gospels didn't tell us. And so, but if you think about Paul and the letters that he wrote, and his influence in the church or the body of Christ, in his work with the Gentiles, he didn't walk with Jesus, but he was there during the time of Jesus. But after Jesus' death, of course, then he was there to persecute the Christians. And we know most of us know the account of Paul and how he was persecuting the Christians before Jesus visited him. I believe it was on the road to Damascus. So Paul didn't actually walk with Jesus. He walked during the time with Jesus, that Jesus was on the earth, but he was with the Pharisees. And he doesn't give I haven't read anything about Paul actually having any experience with Jesus before such time as he met him on the road to Damascus. And Jesus transformed his life there, or began the transformation, and stopped him in his tracks, so to speak, literally. But so it's been kind of interesting learning about these people and who had part in writing the New Testament, and I'm just a novice. I know nothing. I'm very limited in my knowledge. I have read the Bible a lot, but haven't paid a lot of attention to the authors of the books. And so this has been kind of interesting for me to learn of these things.